Okay, this is Orlando Wilson here on a nice, fresh, rainy morning. What I want to talk about in this video / podcast, because we got them going out in both formats now, is something to do with the private investigations world, surveillance world, which is questionable. And that's the use of GPS trackers, locators, etc. Now, these days, it's very easy to track somebody. The easiest way to track somebody is if you can get access to their cell phone, their smartphone, and put spyware on their cell phone. Spyware apps you can buy online. They're cheap, they're cheerful. It's not that high tech to get a spyware app and put it on somebody's phone. Again, if you want to go a little bit more technical, the spyware apps, by the way, in a lot of places they sell them as child security apps, etc., etc. But they can be used for good, they can be used for bad. If you want to go a little bit more high tech and you know the right people, you can get malware, you can put on somebody's phone, etc. It's out there, it's available. The other way to track people these days is GPS trackers. Going back how many years, it was the stuff of James Bond. These days they're easily available. You can get them online. If you just do a Google search for a GPS tracker on something like Amazon, Alibaba, etc., etc., eBay, I'm sure they're going to be there. If you look to see how the bad guys have been using GPS trackers, one that's been trending is the Apple AirPods. If you Google Apple AirPods, I'm sure in the news section of your search engines, I'm sure there'll be a lot of articles coming up on how they've been used by bad guys to stalk people, track people, etc. Now, you've got to think about, first of all, who would be tracking you and why. Do you have a crazy stalker, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, or are you being followed and watched by private investigators? Even though private investigators should work within the law, a lot of them don't. Do they use GPS trackers? Yes, of course. Let me tell you a story. There's one case I've been dealing with for a long time now, where a lady I know in a certain European country, Belgium, was involved in a very bad car accident. And she has a very large insurance claim going on because she's owed a lot of money. Generally, when people owed money or they're going after insurance companies for claims, the insurance company will put private investigators on them to ensure the person's not lying, etc., because they don't want to pay the claim. So if you've got a large claim against an insurance company, which doesn't have to be that large these days, the chances are they will put private investigators to watch you, follow you, video you, take pictures, etc., etc. This lady had a lot of strange things going on. And a friend of mine contacted me, said, come over, spend some time with her and see what the hell's going on, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and there was. Even down to, let's say, patient abuse by one of her doctors that I witnessed. But even though it was reported to the police, nothing's been done about it yet. Hopefully the lawyers are dealing with it, but that's something where that alone would have got people arrested in a lot of countries, but apparently Belgium's not one of those countries. Anyway, this lady's been watched, been followed, there's evidence, etc. And one of the things she was saying was she'd spotted somebody acting suspicious around her car. And you know what? I was with her one day when there was somebody acting suspicious around her car. She had gone and had the car searched by somebody, and they found out that in the back wheel hub, I don't know what it's called, the piece of plastic between the wheel and the frame of the car, in the rear had been popped. One of the studs had been broken, etc. And it was open. Anybody could say, and this is the thing, if you go to the police and say, I've been watched, I've been followed, chances are the police will blow you off. Why? They hear this all the time. They'll think you're crazy. And they obviously thought, again, the way this lady was presenting her case initially, they most probably thought she was crazy. She's a pain in the ass. I wouldn't say crazy. But again, a lot of this is, if you're dealing with stalker management, and that includes if you're being followed by private investigators, they're stalkers, you have to present your case to the police properly. And if it's not presented properly, they're not going to take you seriously. Anyway, back to this, the car was searched and I was there. I saw where the back wheel hub had been popped. And again, we could say she'd done that herself. What made it clear beyond any doubt for me that she was telling the truth, that she was being watched, followed, etc., was when you looked inside of the frame of the car, there was tape in there. And we're not talking duct tape. We're not talking the usual type of tape. The tape that was in there was a green fabric tape. If you've been in the military, you use that a lot. We used to use it for water bottles, camming things up, etc. So the only people, it's not the type of tape you're going to go and buy at your supermarket or even if you go to a hardware store. Generally, the only people that sell that in military supply shops, etc., etc. Generally, the only people that's going to have that stuff are ex-military guys or military guys. So the fact that tape, that type of tape, was still inside the wheel hub of a car says, yes, she had a tracking device on the car. It wouldn't surprise me. Well, I'll say it was put there by private investigators. So this is where GPS trackers are out there. People are using them. So you need to be very wary. You need to be aware. If you think you're being tracked, if you think you're being watched and followed, search your car. The trouble is these days, a lot of trackers are very, very small. If you don't know what they look like, do a Google search for GPS trackers and you should come up upon a load of pictures of what GPS trackers look like. Do a Google search on AirTags and you'll see what AirTags look like. So that's a little bit of basic advice on, well, it's just a little warning to be aware of people using GPS trackers on you. And again, in a lot of places, it's illegal to use them. If somebody's using a GPS tracker to track you, to follow you, to watch you, report it to the police. If you find the device, if you take it to the police, again, chances are most cops aren't going to be particularly interested. They'll be scratching their heads, etc., wanting to know what the hell to do with it. Yes, you're better off leaving it in place, getting the police to check it, but getting the police to do a thorough investigation, fingerprints, etc. Most of the trackers run off SIM cards, getting them to investigate the SIM card, etc., etc. Most busy police departments have got better things to do. They don't have the time to investigate such things. So again, this will be down to you working with a lawyer or working with somebody to see what can be done. And again, the first step is understanding the laws in your area, your country, on what private investigators can do, anti-stalking laws, etc., etc., etc. So again, do your research, understand the laws, and try to reach out to people to see what's going on. So we'll see how you can solve the problem. If you're being followed and you know you're being followed by a private investigator, if you have a insurance case, etc., and you know somebody's following you, I would say confront them. Call the police, tell the police you're being followed, and I'd confront the person, preferably with a witness, and film what's going on. If they're harassing you, again, report them to the police. It's basic stalker management. And again, if the police aren't responsive, then report them to, if it's a licensed business, report them to their division of licensing. Again, to me, a lot of the insurance investigation world is the bottom of the barrel of the investigation and surveillance world. The companies make big money. They generally charge $1,000 to $1,500, euros, pounds a day, and pay the people doing the surveillance. They're lucky to see a couple of hundred. So it's big money to be made by the companies, but it's very much the bottom of the barrel of the investigation surveillance world. So I hope this video on GPS trackers opened your eyes, give you something to think about. And again, I'm going to be doing a lot more videos like this in the future. So follow me along on social media. If you have any relevant questions, feel free to reach out to me. Meantime, be good, stay safe, stay out of trouble.